Now, speaking of the first, that is mutual benefit association. Now, mutual benefit associations are something like, trade unions, political parties, or professional bodies. Now, they come together to serve the interests of members. Now, it is not always possible for these associations to achieve, seemingly easy objectives because of mainly two problems. That is membership apathy and oligarchical control. That is the membership in mutual benefit association. They might be exciting initially, but after a time it becomes, the same function or monotonous feature. So usually members they tend to lose their interest and also they tend to develop apathy towards the association's activities. Now, consequently, the control passes into the hands of some of the few selected in the organization. Now, oligarchical control replaces the internal democratic character of the association. Now, the next categorization is business organization. Now, owners are the primary beneficiaries in the business organization. Now, they are mainly concerned with maintaining operational efficiency and also achieving a maximum gain at a minimum cost. Now, it is true that, uh, groups of stakeholders like employees, customer, society, they usually receive benefits simultaneously from business organization. But when we do our analysis, the survival of the institution only depends upon how effectively the owners are rewarded for the risk that they undertake. Now, the third one that we have is service organization. Now, in service organizations are organizations like maybe our educational institutions, social welfare agencies, or hospitals. Now, under such institutions, the clients are the main beneficiaries. Now, in order to render effective services to the clients, the professionals who looks after such organization, they must have two things. That is, service is more important than observing procedure, and the nature of the service is to be decided by these clients and not by the clients. So, the professionals should neither lose sight of the clients nor become captive of their clients while they try to render service for them. Now, then we have Commonweal organization. Now, these can be basically non-profit organization which serves the members of a given population, like maybe army, police department, post office. They are mainly concerned with serving the interests of the public in large. And definitely, they should be a public organization or a government-owned organization. The next one that we have is Samuel Next one we have is Samuel classification of organization. Now, according to Samuel Dix's classification, all the organizations they can be classified according to the objectives They satisfy for the society. And how they can satisfy the society, he has given seven different ways. That is, from for-profit organization, government organization, protective organization, service organization, political organization, religious organization, and social organization. All these types of organizations, they're self-explanatory. So speaking about for-profit organizations, they provide either goods or services or both for a profit. If companies or any kind of partnership firm or sole trading concern, they are organized based on this particular thing. They generate profit for survival and also for continuing in the market. Then we have government organizations. They are brought into existence to satisfy the needs of the public and for order and provide, a way for people to exercise some of the measures of control over their environment. Like, central organization, state government organization or undertaking, township organization, and as such. Then, in Samuel Dean's classification, he has given protective organization. And as the name suggests, these are such organizations which protect the citizens from danger or which shields the citizens from danger, like that of police and military services, and such others. Then we have service organization. Now, organization, they act in the interest of general public without always receiving payment in full for the service that they give. Maybe like voluntary organization, consumer bureaus, and as such. And after that, we have political organization. Now, under political organization, they try to influence legislation by electing, you know, a member whom they represent or of their group to the public office. So under political organization, definitely political parties, political groups, and political associations are being considered. After that, he has classified as religious organization. Now, these organizations they provide for the spiritual needs of the members of the organization, and they try to enlist non-believers into their fold out. Maybe like church, sects, orders, etc. Then we have social organizations. Now these organizations they satisfy the needs of the person or members to make friendship and to have a contact with others who might have compatible interests, like that of clubs or any kind of team or any kind of fraternity. So this is how Samuel Davis has classified the organization. So this is all about the introduction of the organization and how organization has been classified by three different people that we understood. Next we have organizational chart. So what is this organizational chart? In a very simple word, it is nothing but a graphical representation of the structure of the business organization. So now the main aspect of the organization once after it is divided into different departments, are shown through organization chart. Now, these shall be in the basic graphical representation of the structure of the firm. Now, it is a plan of working relationship. It always shows who is to do the work, who is to direct and supervise the efforts of those who are to do work. Now, these charts they reflect the organizational game plan for division of work. Now, they also give a complete and intelligent guide to company organization. They indicate the flow of work and the responsibility for its achievement. Now, having said this, when we speak of chart, it usually depicts the organization's formal structure and also show only formal relationship. There is no any place for informal structure or informal relationship when it comes for organizational structure. Now, when we tell about organization chart, it never ensures good organization or good management. It's simply because the chart is in existence, there is no guarantee that the organization is a sound organization. Now it clearly says who has to report to whom. Now it also shows, the designation of each of the individuals that they are having, and therefore their individual names do not appear. Only the function that they have to do would be mentioned. Like now the salesperson is the individual, he shall be having his name or her name, but their name shall not be indicated, but only that their position shall be mentioned as sales manager or a production manager or a financial advisor. Now it usually reflects a simplified and also a abstract model of the organization structure. Now they do not show human relationships. It is said that an organization chart is like a snapshot. It is a static model of a dynamic living process in the organization. Now, speaking about organization charts, usually in an organization, there are three different types of organizational charts. Now, that is vertical chart, horizontal chart, and circular chart. Now, when we speak here, we tend to speak about hierarchy. Now, this hierarchy is the line of authority that exists in an organization, which usually runs in order of rank that the individuals are having, normally from top level management to that of lower level management. Okay. Now, when we speak about these three different, the first one is virtual chart. Now, they play major function at the top and subordinate functions at the bottom of the organization hierarchy. Now, the flow of authority under such an organization shall be vertical. That is to tell, all the authority and responsibility shall be passed from top level management to bottom level management. That is to tell, those who are in the highest level, they enjoy highest authority, and those who are in the bottom level will be enjoying least of the authority. Now, the position at the organization shall be horizontal in nature. That is, plant manager are of equal importance in the organization. Now, vertical charts are the one which is easy to read and easy to understand. Now it moves from upwards to downwards. Now the next one that we have is horizontal chart. Now the horizontal chart, they move from left to right. Now the chief executive or the highest position is shown at the extreme left, and those who would be working below them to the extreme right. Now the flow of authority from higher to lower level shall be depicted by the lines which move from left hand side to the right hand side. Now, the importance of horizontal chart is that the main purpose is to minimize the importance of hierarchical levels and to give importance for functional relationships. Now, the next type we have is circular chart. Now, what happens here is that the main position or the chief executive position shall be in the middle of the series of the concentric circle. Now, different position that is there in the organization shall be placed in such a way that the closer the position of the function to the center, the more important is the function, and thereby the distance from the center indicates the degree of closeness to the top position. Now, positions of equal importance lie on the same concentric circle. Now, it is easy to read because it can view from any direction. However, it would be confusing if a member of circle increases beyond a certain limit. Now, is there any advantages and limitations of this for an organization for having trust? Mm, it goes without telling, yes, there are some advantages and also that there are some disadvantages. The advantage is that first one is the charts will be able to define the relationship in the organization in a clear and definite manner. Now they can guide the employees regarding the jobs that would be given to them and how is that their jobs is connected to other jobs that is there in the organization. But whereas the limitation is that they can definitely tell the relationship at some certain point. But then if they are not revised frequently, there are chances that it might go obsolete after some time. Now, the advantage is that it helps the executives to, come up with the objective of the organizational arrangement in an objective way. Now, any kind of deficiencies, gaps, confusion, and low level of span of control, overlapping shall be reduced, or such problems can be easily identified and solved. But as against this, if there is no any, organizational chart, many of the structural deficiency that would be there, it might be difficult to identify, and there are chances that it might become costly in the later stage of the organization. Now, one of the limitations it has is that it fails to show human relationship in the organization. Now, they only show the surface to the structure, but not the inner work in the organizational structure. Now, the advantage is that when it comes to training, organizational chart can act as a useful training device. Now, the requirements of the job that of each position can be clearly said, and if there are any kind of incumbents, it can be known well in advance, and the employees can prepare themselves according to how they need to act. Now, as against that, these charts they might make people too much conscious of being, superiors or inferiors. Now, it might make, to bring down the team feeling and give persons occupying a box on the chart too great a feeling of ownership. Now, one of the advantages that they usually be able to provide right information to the outsiders who are interested in, contracting right person in the organization. Whereas formal charting introduces rigidity in the organization. And also, by specifically mentioning the limits of each of the positions, it might result in empire building. Now, each one of the individuals who holds a position, they shall always be interested in protecting their own authority and responsibility carefully, and if possible, they might also try to overstep their authority. Now, it shall all, because of the rigidity, it shall always be inflexible in nature, and the same attitude can be created among the employees, which might result in conflicts among the employees for the position that they are holding. And definitely, the cost that is included in preparing the organizational chart and disseminating it and storing it and updating it on a frequent basis and are always huge and also are prohibitive in nature. Okay. After this, we have principles of organization. Now, as we discussed a lot of time, whenever we speak about principle, it is nothing but a basic statement or the fundamental truth. By studying, we can understand, and also which acts as guidance to some kind of thinking or some kind of practice. Now, over all these years, there has been a lot number of principles which have been developed for management to aid executive thinking and also the action. But one thing we should remember is that all these principles are only approximation or a average of generalization from the experience that each of the thinker has given. And therefore, it becomes necessary that all these principles shall require careful application. Now, in the PPT, what you can see as principle of organization is given by Notes, and he has given five different principles. It is the purpose of the organizing, the cause of organizing, the structure of organizing, the structure of organization in terms of departmentalization, and the process of organization. Now the first one is speaks about the purpose of organizing. Now this particular principle tells that a business organization or firm should always help the achievement of the objective of the organization, and it should see to that this fulfillment shall always be efficient in nature. Now, for bringing in efficiency, it should always have the principle of unity of objective and the principle of organizational efficiency. Now, the principle of unity of objective, it always says that an organization structure shall only be effective when it helps the achievement of enterprise objectives. Now, if you see whatever we shall be speaking, we have already discussed it in detail in the class. So, in this session, wherever we have to repeat, what I shall be doing is I shall be simply explaining it in one sentence, because it is repetition and definitely it should not be boring for you. The next one is principle of organizational efficiency. And having discussed so many things of being efficient and efficiency, efficient is nothing but it helps the achievement of the objective in a very minimum cost that is possible. And an efficient organization structure should be such that it should be able to work without wastage of resource, or it should allow maximum utilization of human resource. And it should be able, it should be one such structure which can offer, clear lines of authority and responsibility, and also somewhere it should be able to provide such a climate wherein the personal development is possible. So the next word we have is the cause of organizing. So what is the necessary or what is the reason? Now, the main reason that the structure should be there in organization is span of management. Span of management is nothing but how many people are able to work under one superior. But then, for the principle of the span of management, the firms would, forever remain small managed by only one manager. So a manager should have limited number of subordinates who would be reporting to him directly. Now, generally, this span should be short for, complex work and novel work, and long for routine and simple work. That is to tell, if I have to give an example, span of management in organization which is something like chartered accountants, company secretaries, or that of lawyers, there the span of management should be limited in number. But whereas manufacturing unit like maybe FMCG product, then the span of management can be longer in nature. After that, we have the structure of organization in terms of authority. Now, it might be any organization. Now, authority is the one thing which acts as a concrete force or cementing force. Now, it means that which groups of activities that can be able to be put under a manager. Now, which will always enable the top level management to bring in coordination and cooperation in the enterprise and also to make work effectively. Now, a manager or the chief executive can always or it is expected of them that they should show proper direction and also they should be able to create an environment for a good individual performance of their personnel or their employees. Now, under this, the structure of organization in terms of authority, we have four different principles. It is principle of scalar chain, principle of authority and responsibility, principle of unity of command, and authority level principle. Now, scalar chain, it simply means the unbroken line of authority which flows from top level management to bottom level organization. Now, when there is a clear selection, it will always result in good communication in the organization, which is very much necessary for the successful working of this team. Then we have principle of unity of command. It simply states that for one activity, an employee should be always be responsible to report to only one superior. The more superiors he has, the more confusing he will be as to prioritize the work. Then we have principle of authority and responsibility, which always speaks of that adequate authority must be given to managers at the lower level. The superiors should be able to define clearly what is that they expect and when he expects it to be done and who has to do it. Now, in this situation, the subordinates who are working, they must show good performance and they must be, following the directives of the superiors. And responsibility in simple terms is the obligation of a subordinate to perform the duty as required by the superior. And as a matter of principle, there should always be parity between authority and responsibility. Now, when authority is given without corresponding responsibility, it will always result in misusing the authority. Now, the same way, if responsibility is given without the adequate authority, it shall always bring in ineffective performance and result in frustration. Now, one more thing in the oldest time that regarding authority and responsibility that we have discussed, we should remember that responsibility is always final and it cannot be re-delegated, it cannot be further given to somebody else or it cannot be re-delegated. Now, by delegating work to lower levels, usually the superiors they shall never be going off the track of their responsibility in any way possible. They shall always be responsible for the work that shall be done even after delegation of responsibility. Then we have authority level principles. Now, authority level principle speaks that for the authority that each person has. Now, the decisions within their authority level should be made by themselves and it should never be referred upward in the organization structure. Now, the delegation can only be of unsuccessful activity if the subordinates they continuously wait for the superior's reaction or decision. So, to what authority they are having, they must be able to take the decision. Otherwise, the work of sharing this authority or responsibility and delegation of work will near go on waste. The next that we have is the structure of the organization in terms of departmentalization. Now, the main aim of organizing is, to provide a structure or a basic structure in the form of departmental framework. And therefore, we have the principle of functional definition. And this speaks of, the duties, the responsibility, and the authority of each and every employee or individually in the organization. And this principle tells that all these things, the responsibilities, the duties, the authority, they must be clearly and well defined. Now, the people who are there in different levels, they must know what they are supposed to do, when they have to do, and for whom is that they have to be doing it. Now, they should also know the limits of their behavior. And the last one that we have is the process of organizing. Now, the process of organizing it can become easy when the principle of balance, flexibility, stability, and simplicity are being well applied in it. Now, the principle of balance tells that there are different departments in an organization. There are different activities in the organization. All these different department and activities should be given a balance and a proportionate emphasis importance in relation to their overall contribution to the objective must be given to them. Then we have principle of flexibility, that is to tell the organization structure to be flexible in nature. That is, if at all there is such a situation that a change has to be made in the original structure of the organization. It should not be difficult to bring it. And given the environment or given the scenario of today's business organization, it is always expected that a business organization is flexible in nature. Now, after this, we have principle of stability. That is to say, yes, the organization structure should be flexible in nature, that when it is necessary, it is able to adopt the changes according to the changing scenario. But then, it should not be unstable one, because it should not change on a continuous basis without a proper reason for that. Now, the organization structure should be reasonably stable. Now, stability always refers to the organization's ability to how well can it withstand against the changes so that they are able to achieve the organizational goals in an efficient manner. The last one that we have is principle of simplicity. Now, the structure of an organization should be such that it should be simple in nature so the employees can be able to follow the work and also understand the allocation of duties and responsibilities. Now, this will always help the leadership activity in the organization also. Now, these are some of the principles of organization.